Should I go and do all the cameras again?
No, it's fine. It's only been a minute.
Hey guys, it's Sophie and Elise.
And welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Shop Podcast.
So, disclaimer, before we get into anything business, women related, I have to admit that I am slacking a little bit on the coffee front this week. It's been a very, very overwhelming week.
Bank holiday vibes.
Yeah, the definition of burning the candle at both ends
Yeah.
is me today.
We just think we can do everything, don't we? Like,
honestly.
run a business, do a podcast, have a social life.
Go out. My
Yeah.
friend had me drinking tequila, lime and soda.
Ooh.
It was disgusting.
Oh.
It was disgusting. So I think that is absolutely the reason I'm full of cold this week. So
Did you like the taste of it?
no, it was disgusting.
Oh, I've never
Gross.
had that before.
We won't be having it again.
No.
So I'm on the Lemsip. You know, we have a podcast to film. We have a coffee shop to run. We
Yeah.
have to open. But yeah, apologies for the cold sounding voice.
You know what my thing is this morning? Well, today. It's my dress sense. I don't know what it is, but I'm thinking, who is dressing you lately? I'm working.
What?
I don't know.
You are stylish.
I'm putting things on and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
I don't know what
Do you
it
ever have
is.
them things in your wardrobe and you pull out and you're just
Yeah.
thinking, what
Who
in
bought
what
that?
mind frame was I in when I bought that in
Yeah.
the shop? Like,
I think
who
it's a
told me
different
that was a good
person.
idea?
I think I have like this alter ego where I think I'll suit the cargos, everyone else looks
Yeah,
dead cute.
I know what you mean.
I put them on and I thought, you look like you're going to work as a builder.
Yeah.
That's actually what I look like.
But I see outfits on TikTok now and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that all looks so stunning.
Yeah.
And you put it on and you're literally like, oh no.
No,
Why have
it's
I had
not-
this in my head for the last 2 months?
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, you're on the Lemsip. I'm whinging about
Not
what I'm
stylish
wearing.
anymore.
Yeah.
We're-
I don't think
we're
I ever
losing
was,
the
but
plot, aren't we?
yeah.
So this episode, should we go back to the
yeah. We'll
this
go back to it.
episode, we are going to talk all things struggle related.
Yeah.
So following on from our imposter syndrome episode, we thought the next sort of logical episode would be to dive into the struggles that we faced being women in business, also young women in business. I mean, to be honest, that was probably the main reason we wanted to start the whole
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely. We wanted to highlight the struggles we faced starting out, even now, and we know that speaking to other people in business, they relate to this.
Yeah.
People have wrote in, haven't they, and
Yeah.
give us things that they want
Yeah.
us to discuss.
So we popped something on our stories, didn't we, about a week ago?
Yeah.
And we sort of said, have you struggled, like, you know, what sort of struggles do you face? Not even just in business, but in your jobs, in your career. I think we even said it at uni. And we've had quite a lot of people message. So we sort of said a mixture of going into the messages and also just leaning on the experiences that we found
Yeah.
and would make for, fingers crossed, a really exciting episode.
Yeah, and we want to say again, thank you to everyone who's watching and liking, subscribing.
Yeah, it makes
Everyone
such a
matters, it really
difference.
does. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. So shall we go into do you want to start with the message?
Yeah, let's go for
Okay.
it.
So I feel like this is a strong one to start on, actually.
A strong one.
Yeah. Let's start as we need to
Stronger
go
than
on.
your length.
Yeah. How much? So this one says, do you feel intimidated as a woman in business or also as a young woman in business?
Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah, so that's literally exactly what we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
really.
You've got a few of these, haven't you, with what
Mhm.
you've had to deal with the council and stuff like that. So
100%. The biggest thing I always say whenever anybody says, you know, what is it like or how do you find it? The main thing, honestly, this sentence will have come out of my mouth numerous times in the last 2 years. I genuinely feel like people see me coming. So they see a young girl that has a business and think she hasn't got a clue what she is doing.
yeah.
And that honestly, like we said, even down to dealing with councils, even really with customers on some level, fellow business owners in the city, like honestly, people see me coming and they
Yeah.
just think she hasn't got a clue.
She hasn't got the foggiest.
Literally.
Probably because you don't.
Yeah, literally. But no, and I think it's really, really hard. I think it's one thing being a woman in business, and then I think it's one thing also being seen as like a young woman in business.
Yeah.
Because again, and I know, and I've said this to you many a time, but I know people as well will also think it's a case where, oh, I'm sure her mum and dad have probably bought her that business.
Yeah.
I've genuinely had people in here that have said, oh, mummy and daddy helped then. And you know when
That's
you just
so
think,
rude.
no. And firstly,
People-
would you even dare say that to
No,
somebody?
people used to say it to me, not as much now because I obviously mustn't look a lot older now.
Yeah,
but
we're not
when I
young
first started, I'd be setting things up and they'd be like, "Oh, so is it this your mum and dad's business?" And
Yeah.
I'd be like, "No, actually,
Yeah.
not everyone just gets things handed to them." And I think the more people realise that,
Yeah. It did really, really bother me at first. And I was a bit like, you know, if people are going to think that, you know, my mum and dad have bought it for me or I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. And it all links back really to the imposter syndrome that we were talking about last week.
yeah,
But I was just like, well, what am I doing it all for then? Because all I'm trying to do is make something of myself and be successful and make this business successful.
yeah.
But I don't want to do that if people just think I've been handed it on a plate, that I'm not really having to bust a gut.
Well, I'm like, oh yeah, no, definitely not until something goes wrong, and then I'm like, yeah, it's me mum's, my mum's and dad's actually.
To be honest, I can say all of that, but when something does go wrong here,
Yeah.
I'm literally, Dad, this has happened.
Help
Like
me.
literally yesterday, we had a window completely smashed. Literally half of it fell off into the river. Half of the window pane was smashed. And I literally was just a bit like, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to ring my dad and we'll regroup because I didn't have a clue. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm doing this all by myself, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Like it's a one-woman show. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it is my business and it's my name above the door and it's, you know, it was me that got it off the ground sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it is really, really disrespectful. And it, at the beginning, really did hurt my feelings when people would be like, oh, have mummy and daddy funded this then? Or, you know, they act like I don't have a clue what I'm doing and maybe really patronise me.
That's what it is. It's patronising.
It is. But it's happened that many times now that I've sort of grown a backbone a little bit and a bit of a thicker skin. And I'm just a bit like, well, no, like you can think that. That's fine. I know actually how I've managed to get here and the hard work I've put in. So
I feel like that's a good way to look at things. Like I used to get really offended by what anyone said, just about like in life in general, really.
Yeah.
If someone said a negative comment to me, that's it. I'd be crying. And business does make you have to get over that kind of.
it's the
facade.
growing the thicker skin.
You know what you are capable of and what you've been through and how you've got here and what you've accomplished. So that's all that matters. Doesn't matter to anybody else. Nah.
Exactly. And like I said, it really does all link back to the imposter syndrome episode, where if you and the people that are closest to you know, and I think like with both of us, like the graft and all the hard work that we put into
like
this,
the long hours.
Yeah, then the people that need to know that know it. At the end of the day, if people walk through this door and think, God, she absolutely hasn't done this by herself, well, then that's fine. Think that, you know, that's not the case at all. But it's one of them things. People are always going to have their own opinions. And like, you can't, as hard as I try and as hard as I work and as many hours as we put in, you're not going to change that opinion. So
let me just come out with another quote here.
Oh, sorry.
I need to
we need to get this, snippet this
snippet
bit.
this
We're
in.
going to cut this to its own segment.
Yeah, right. We'll just
Here we
focus
go.
on me here. You need to be able to stand your own ground and
Mind blowing.
know your worth, girl.
I love it.
Elise Hannah.
Quotations. I'm just here for I'm the side piece.
God, no. But yeah, that is a good one to start. And I think being a woman in business and trying to stand your own ground and start trying to like even get anywhere for a job.
Yeah.
I find people who are a woman in even a normal job role
Yeah.
are still paid less. They're still looked down on.
Absolutely.
Well, not looked down on, but they're
They're
still not
not
equal.
seen as equal.
No,
and
definitely
that's
not.
the biggest thing, I think, isn't it? And like we said, it's not just women in business, it's women in any industry.
Yeah.
It's
Sport.
literally, it's anything. And that's one of the main reasons we wanted to sort of do a
this
podcast, because we really thought that, do you know what, like there's all of these podcasts, but there's no two women doing that and talking about that and talking about how hard that is.
Yeah.
And we just thought, well, let's use the experiences that we know. Yeah, we don't have that many. We're still learning and growing with it. But we have some.
Yeah.
Let's tap into it.
Let's
and
go for it.
Absolutely. So shall we?
Next question.
Yeah, go for another question. Okay, so this one says, did you struggle to fund your businesses to start up? So that's a really good question. And a lot of people have already messaged in before we even mentioned this episode asking about how we started.
Yeah. For me, I was struggling because I had absolutely no money, as I quoted on episode number 2. So obviously it was quite hard to go from having nothing and then using the last of what I had to invest into something.
Yeah.
But after that, I started researching, looking into things, and I went to Sunderland Enterprise Place, and I did actually go there, and they said they couldn't help me because although I went to uni, I was from Hartlepool, so it wasn't like I wasn't in their region. Is it a region?
And do Hartlepool not have anything?
No, they didn't really
Like
have
the
anything
same
like
thing?
that. They had an enterprise, but I don't think it was very like supporting of young people in business kind of thing. They might do. I'm not too sure. But when I went, she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like I did this little presentation and stuff." She was like, "I'm really sorry. We can't like accommodate you," kind of thing. So I was like, "Oh well, never mind. Doesn't matter.
Worth a try.
Yeah, worth a try." And then she actually rang me. And she was like, "Oh, I've looked into this because I found it a bit strange how you've obviously gone to uni for however long and we can't help you. So if you come, I know, really lovely." So then I went back down and they offered like a startup grant for the business that was free. And I also applied for another grant, and you had to do like, it was a bit like a competition, like Dragon's Den. Here's me going in my little suit with my little present, and I thought, I have not got a chance in hell here. Like, I was like, who do I think I am here? I had no clue. I just started.
Like you're walking into that final interview on The Apprentice.
That's what I was like. I was like, I'm ready, dragons. I'm ready.
Folded.
Yeah.
Hi, Emily. Yeah.
Part of the Dragon's Den crew.
I love it.
And I won. I won.
That's brilliant.
I know, and I was so proud of myself.
That is so
and that
good.
is probably one of the first moments in my life, I think, that I thought, like, I could
She's
actually
doing
do
good
this.
here, yeah.
Because a lot of the time I would do things and I'd be like, I'm not interested. I don't want to do it. I'm not sticking at it. And it
Like
really
your heart's
gave
not in,
yeah.
in there.
And it really gave me confidence. And I was like, wow, like, I've actually gone
And
up
the
about...
type of girls we are, like, we would say that was a sign.
Yeah.
We'd be like, do you know what? The
going
universe wants me to do the little events company, wants it to do well.
Yeah. So the Sunderland Enterprise Place I could recommend for anyone wanting to start out. They're also
But for that one you had to have some connection to the city.
Yeah.
So either be from there or obviously you went to uni there.
I think it's just a surrounding. So I was a bit far out, but if you've gone to Sunderland,
so maybe you have like a catchment area, sort of thing.
Yeah, but even if you're like slightly far out, I think from that they have included Hartlepool and other places. So I feel like if you went there, they're more than willing to help.
Yeah.
But they were amazing, and I cannot they really, really did help.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, mine was a little bit different because I actually got a loan for my coffee shop. So I rent from the council, so I'm like a tenant on like a lease. So I did need a bit of like a down payment essentially, really, which obviously I didn't have. I had some savings. I mean, I'd worked.
I can remember you were saving for ages.
Yeah, so my whole job that I had in marketing, all of that, I was just sort of pocketing away all the time. I was in a really fortunate position because I was still at my mum and dad's.
Yeah.
So I was just saving what I could, but obviously in the grand scheme of things, it was nothing compared to what I needed. So again, it was with the help of my dad. We did a lot of research. I looked into a lot of different ways to do it. And I ended up getting a startup loan. So it was literally called a startup loan. I think if you put in Google now, like a business startup loan, there's so many different ones. I did mine on, I want to say it was called British Enterprise Funds.
Yeah.
I think that's what mine was called actually. And with that, you can only get a certain limit of how much you can obviously loan. But it was going to be enough for what I needed, really, just to get me started.
Because you don't want it beating over your head.
No, exactly. And that was it. And it was a big risk, like I mentioned in the previous episode, like it was the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
It was a risk, and it was also not very likely that people were going to be giving out loans at the time because startup businesses weren't, no one was starting up many businesses, let alone, businesses that you actually were physical and you actually had to come into. So I remember even when I was trying to get my coffee machine, I like sort of leased that from a company, and they said at the time, they were like, we're not working with startup businesses at the moment because they can't guarantee that the payments are going to be made, because no one can guarantee that the customers are going to be there. So it was really, really tricky one for me. Obviously I had to go through the whole process of doing a business plan, which again I had not the foggiest.
It's so hard as
I
well.
I was watching YouTube videos, I was Googling. I actually found one really, really useful website, and I think it was actually on NatWest, like the bank website.
Yeah.
And it was just like a really straightforward, simple, structured plan of how to do a business plan. And I remember I put it all together, and then my dad sort of had a look over it for me. Obviously, you know, it'd been a while since my dad had made any sort of business plans. He was also a bit like, you know, we maybe need a bit of a refresher sort of thing. And then anyway, sort of went from there and took, like, well, fingers crossed, thank God, I was approved the loan, and that was sort of the start of the snowball for me to get going.
I always think it's a good idea. Well, now I think to have a business plan anyways. If you're starting something,
it's a good
and
way
you can like visualize your
yeah.
goals, it's better to write it down and actually look and think, how am I going to get from A to B to
and
C?
I suppose it's a little bit like vision boarding.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like everyone says now, like the best way to sort of, not to always mention manifesting, but if you believe in all that sort of stuff, then to have all of your goals and dreams in front of you on a piece of paper to physically see is a lot more effective than just having it in your mind.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, like to see it sort of, you know, for me as well, it probably was the first moment since seeing this coffee shop and actually physically coming in that I actually sat down and thought, okay, what is the vision going to be for this business? What sort of thing am I going to sell? At what sort of price? Who are my target customers? What would my opening hours look like? You know, what would I have staff? Would I not have staff? Would I do food? You don't think about all of these things.
No,
and like you said, being made to actually physically sit down and write it out was that moment for me where I think at first I was a bit like, shit, there's a lot to this.
Help me.
But also where I was a bit like, okay, like this is how it could potentially work if I was to get the loan.
I just think there is a lot out there, and there's a lot of directions that you can go down. And if you take the time to even go on Google and just be like, how to start a business, how to like get loans, grants, there's more than enough out there. If you don't go looking for it, you won't find it.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
I don't even think a lot of people know about Sunderland Enterprise.
Well, I never did.
Yeah, and
I knew
like
you could have gone down the route of that, but I didn't know that it was a thing.
Well, now because of that, you could have went, and they help you in so like they give you a mentor of how to do your like finances.
So it's always worth. And that's the good thing, like we have such different businesses and we've been down completely different paths to get to where we are.
Yeah.
Which again is why I think it's like a good thing that we're doing this together.
100%.
It's just like a really, like a bit of an insight, isn't it? It's how it's all works.
And we're learning about each other. We're like, I did not know that.
So next week I'm going to be starting an events company.
We should do it like when people do the swap.
Yeah.
And you go do my job. And
imagine, mine would never look as pretty as what yours looks like.
You know, one time I worked in Pizza Hut and I swilled someone with 5 drinks. So imagine me in here.
Okay, we're not going to be swapping anything.
No, we won't. I went over with my tray. I went over with my tray and I was like 16. I was like, I'd just been promoted from salad bar to like actually waitressing. I went over, took one glass off, full tray, all over this woman.
Literally over the people.
One woman, like 5 drinks, one woman.
God.
And she was like, oh, don't worry, like help me clean up.
And it's just that awkward thing where you want to cry inside. And
we couldn't swap, we couldn't.
No, I just couldn't do your job. Okay, shall we do another question?
Yeah. So this one's really good because we are the worst for cringing at ourselves, aren't we? I mean, we're doing a podcast and we're putting ourselves out there, but inside we cringe every single second. But they said, getting my name out there and spreading the word, they find it really hard and cringy trying to sell themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
We relate to that, don't we?
Yeah.
It's just a thing, I think, when you have to be your own advertiser.
Yeah, that's it.
And you don't want to come across as though you're bragging or being like, oh, like,
look at this, look what I've done, look what we're doing.
Yeah. Do you feel the same?
Definitely. But I think one of the things you just have to remember is you're trying to make a living for yourself.
I know.
And you're trying to make yourself something of yourself.
It keeps relating back to the imposter syndrome, doesn't
it? 100%.
Everything. It's just absolutely relates. Like, I always think I'm putting myself out there. You have to. People like storytelling. it's all on TikTok, it's all on social media, everything's on Instagram. So you have to be able to do it, and if not,
I remember
you're not gonna get anywhere.
Last week we both posted like a day in the life, didn't we? We were like, we should really do it, like the podcast.
Yeah.
And then we were both literally like, I was just dying inside, like honestly.
It's a voiceover.
But then I love to watch it of other people.
I know.
So I just think it's like a catch-22 where it's like,
and everyone always comments and it gets a good response because I've been looking at things and how you market and things like that, and it's always you have to be in it yourself and you have to make it personal.
People
relatable.
like to see
what is going on.
But I think as well, and it does link a little bit to this comment where they've said they find it really hard to sell themselves. And I say one of, actually the biggest struggle I think I find at the moment is the balance. So for example, like this comment, she finds it really hard to sell herself on like her Instagram and stuff. I totally appreciate that and understand where that comes from, because I find it hard to have the time to do the Instagram, I think, and it's
a lot goes into it.
No, it really, really does. And I think something we mentioned in one of the first episodes was literally how when you are self-employed, you're not just, like for me, like obviously I literally work in this coffee shop 5 days a week, but that's not the only thing you do. So you do that and that takes up them whole 5 days. Like I leave early, I get home late, I don't have time really to do anything else. But it's like on top of that, you then have to find the time to do your ordering, do any marketing that you want to do, whether that's social media or not, do bills. I also have staff that you have to make sure you look after and do rotas and pay them. And there's literally so much. And I just think, how on earth do you balance it all? Doing all of that, having a social life, doing anything outside of the business that you might want to do.
That is a struggle. That is one of the biggest ones, really, isn't it?
It is. I think it's the biggest for me. And I think I got really, really overwhelmed at the start. And don't get me wrong, I think in my head I knew that I was starting a business. Realistically, I wasn't going to get to do a lot else with that sort of time in my life. But I don't think I was quite prepared for how much.
We were wild. Like, when we were at uni, we did anything and everything. We lived life.
We did, which I love now that we did.
I'm glad we did.
But I just think,
it was a shock to the system.
My mum literally said to me, she was like, there's such a fine line between, like, selling yourself, like, marrying the business. And she was like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
She said, you're still young, you've got a boyfriend, you've got friends. Like, you need to hold on to that. Because as soon as you cross that line and this becomes life, it's really hard to go back and sort of make it not the main thing,
You need to live to work, not work to live. Is
that
the right way?
Is that another Elise Hannah quote?
Is that the right way around?
You need to work to live.
I said it the wrong way around.
You need to work to live, not live to work.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I think it is hard because I know some people will listen to that and be like, well, actually, you've started the business. You preach about wanting to make it a success and everything. And absolutely. But you also do want to live life as well.
Yeah.
Like, life's for living. It's not for working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You need to put the work in, but you also need to find a balance.
Yeah, and I think
it is a struggle.
I still struggle with it to this day. Like I said, I did get really overwhelmed with it sort of in the first year. And I remember, like I said, I got the keys in the end of the January, and I actually went on holiday in the October. And between that January and that October, I had one Saturday off.
Yeah.
For that whole, so basically for what's that, like about 9 months or something, I'm not sure. Which I'm sure to some people they'll be like, well, that's nothing, it's just part of the job, and it is absolutely. But it's a shock to your system when you go from having every weekend when I had an office job to then my weekends were not my weekends anymore.
Yeah, I think mine's kind of not been as bad because I've never not worked weekends.
Yeah.
So all the way through college, all the way through uni, and to now, I've either, not every weekend obviously as I do now, but I've always had a job that's been weekend work, so it hadn't been that bad. But I know no different. So for you to have that taken away,
exactly.
Worse.
And like all of a sudden you have to go from when you'd have been at every event with your friends to then being like, well, I can't because of work, I can't because of this, blah, blah, blah. Like it's a shock. But, I'm 2 years down the line, coming up to like my third summer, and I would like to think that I'm definitely starting to get to the point where actually, if somebody has something off on something on a Saturday night, yeah, maybe still have to work during the day or still have to come in on the Sunday, but the actual night I can make it to now.
Yeah.
And I think that was always the important thing to keep in my head back in my first year, that it was like, this is my first year. I'm never going to have my first year again. It's meant to be this hard. Like, you are meant to be putting this graft in.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day that will pay off. And like I said, I'm slowly starting to see that a little bit more now. And every year I get a little bit of a bigger team and everything like that.
You're flying, girl.
But then I always say I'm going to do all this and maybe get to the point where I don't have to be here all the time.
And instead you're doing a podcast.
And then I'll just add something else into the mix. Maybe one day I'll open another. Yeah. And you're just like, what? Like, do I even want the spare time? Like,
true,
no.
Very
Well, yeah, I honestly can resonate with that comment so much because it's definitely the biggest struggle I find.
Yeah, balance.
Yeah. And also I'm not that good with, like, saying I worked in social media and PR before. I'm not that great with the social media marketing side.
It's hard. Like, there's a lot to it now. I think they have made it harder. Instagram, TikTok, they make you want to, like, you have to pay to be out there and you have to do a reel. You can't just do a post. And
well, like that comment said, like, sort of selling yourself. Like, you want to sell yourself in the best light that you can. Like, for me, I want people to want to come here. Like, you want people to buy your services.
Yeah.
And it is, like you said, there's just so many different ways to be doing it. And you literally can open up Instagram today and you see all these other businesses that are doing these amazing social media posts, and you just think, you know, you always compare yourself. Again, it's the imposter syndrome.
They always have such professional photos and stuff, and you're like, how are you doing that?
I think that all the time.
Like, what are they using? Do they
and
have
like
for
the
their own
filters.
person?
Yeah, that's what I think.
They must do, surely.
I feel like people must use good cameras.
I know. Well, that's another bloody expense, though. What else do you want me to do? And then you actually sign up for these things. It's like, oh, you have to pay for this service. Lightroom, pay for it. Photoshop, pay for it.
Anything. Yeah. Even if you want to, like, schedule your post, it's like you have to pay.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
The pressure is getting worse and worse. Someone else has said, how do you make sure that the business stays successful?
Oh, okay. Interesting one.
Try.
Yeah. Turn up.
For mine, it's very difficult because there's always new trends, so you have to make sure you're on top of whatever trend is coming out. And as soon as you've got the first thing, the next things came out, and you think, oh my god, like, how do I keep up with it all? But I feel like for me, that is my biggest struggle, keeping up with what's next and making sure I keep a budget to be able to afford to pay for the next thing that's coming out. And again, what I touched on last time, people don't realise that these products will not last me forever. I'll have to revamp them. I'll have to spruce them up.
Yeah, they're getting used like weekly, daily sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's probably for me, I'd say.
But I think I like in a similar way, really. Obviously, I'm in the middle of a city centre that is full of lovely, thriving, independent businesses that do very similar things to me. So definitely along the same lines what you were saying, like, I'm always sort of thinking about the next thing that we can be doing. So, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of an example.
Your little Easter eggs?
Yeah, so Easter, for example, that is a perfect opportunity for us to think, right, let's bring out some, like, mega specials that no one else is doing exactly how we're doing them. Let's do them brilliantly. And it's a reason for people to come through that door. And I really try and do that at every sort of occasion, every, like, big date across the year. So whether it's Valentine's Day, Easter, you know, all things like that. So definitely similar to you, I do the same. And also another thing I would say is probably down to actually the experience people get when they come through the door. So I'm really, really big on that, like, our service is like 10 out of 10. Like, we're only a small team, so I would say there's literally no excuses for people not to have, like, a pleasant experience and, like, a pleasant staff.
We want those 5-star reviews.
Yeah, we do, and we really rely on them. And we get, touch wood, we get really, really lovely reviews, and I have really, really lovely staff that will chit chat and they'll have a conversation with people. And it's not just about them coming in, getting their money, them going.
It's an experience.
There's massive chain coffee shops literally next door to me. Like, they can go in there and grab an Americano and speak to no one if they don't want to, if that's what they want. Whereas they can come in here and they can actually have an experience. They can have a conversation. They can sit down. And I think
it's that whole thing of supporting small businesses.
Yeah, it is.
Having that local community vibe.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I've learned that people like to come back if they know that's what they're coming back to.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
love
really
a return.
nice. Yeah, it's really nice now. Like 2 years down the line, I do get people that come back and people that will be like, every time we come to York, we come here.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is such a big compliment. And I'm just like, we're obviously doing an okay job if that's the case. So yeah, I would say them two things for me.
Somebody's just took a photo of us. I went
Do we need to go inside and leave an autograph?
Are we famous?
Oh,
They just stopped and I thought, are they taking it over the bridge? But they weren't. They were taking it over us. And I was like,
we
made
keep joking. You know, in Times Square, there's Good Morning America studio, and like you can see the people standing watching. I keep saying that's going to be us with like the door of the coffee shop. People are going to be looking in like, oh my god,
there they are.
It's the home of the coffee shop.
Sophie Elise,
I love you.
We'll have to get a bouncer on the door. We'll make a bouncer be so that guys,
this coffee shop will be inundated.
You'll have 17 coffee shops. Never mind the next one. Sorry, I just got a bit excited there.
You can see how we get carried away. Honestly,
are we famous yet? Love it. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, that's it. So I would say they were the two biggest things for me anyway. But yeah, really, really good question.
Yeah. So I've got actually a really good one, but it's actually on my phone. So someone's wrote in and they've said, "Hey girls, loving your podcast. Two gorgeous down-to-earth girls doing their bit to help others. I have a struggle to share. So I started a uni degree a few years ago alongside working full-time. I really struggle juggling the assignments, relationships, friendships, and on top of that working a full 9 till 5. Which is understandable. That is a lot. 3 years later, I passed my course and held down the job as my company was super supportive throughout. They actually funded me to do the course.
Oh, that's good.
Reflecting back, I really don't know how I did it. Something I learned to do was just to look back on my journey at what I've done and how little old me would have wanted this so much, and now I'm finally here. I've still got a long way to go in my journey, but feel like I'm more than well enough equipped for the stress as it may bring."
Yeah, she's already proven to herself that she is more than equipped to do it all.
I think that's like when I said about me getting that funding and I did that presentation, Dragon's Den, bossed it. But I think once you've accomplished one little milestone, that's all you need to be like, right, I can do it.
Yeah, you need that sort of encouragement to be like, you're more than capable, girl. Like, you have overcome so many obstacles and hurdles already, so just keep going.
You know what I think is another really good thing that she said about her work being supportive, because I think that is a lot to do with how you come across as a person and how you flourish in what you do.
And how you handle it, probably.
Yeah, if you have support people around you, a support boss, for it, then it makes such a difference. If you have someone who you feel intimidated around or a bit nervous around, and they're not encouraging you to be like, go for it, do it, you can succeed, then you're not going to.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really does make a difference. The people you work with and the people who employ you.
And I just think when you juggle that many things, like, you know, like that message said, like, it is hard and it's overwhelming, but I think your best way to do it is maybe a little bit like even when we linked back to like the business plan and the vision boarding and stuff like that. Sometimes just getting it written down in front of you can make things seem a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward than when it's all jumbled up in your mind. You are only human, you can only do so much. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little bit of time, and like you said, you're going to flourish with the right support, with the right people around you, and the right mentality.
And you've done it, girl. Well done.
Listening to the right podcast. No, but definitely. And do you know what? It also feels, maybe nice isn't the right word, but it feels really nice that a lot of people have the same struggles.
Yes.
You know, in different industries, with different things going on, with unis, with children.
You're never alone.
Like both of my, I have two sisters that both have children now, and they struggle to balance everything, just in a completely different way that I struggle to balance everything.
Yeah.
And I think nobody is more superior, but it's just completely different. And I just think it almost is, it's nice to think you're not alone out there, and it's exactly what we said about with the imposter syndrome. So many people feel like it, so just don't let it get the better of you, and just, like we said, you're only human.
Yeah, you're only human.
Yeah.
Quotations. be night today.
Pushing you out of the way. It's my time.
Stop stealing my line.
So, are we going to finish off with the usual
business confession?
Okay, so have we got it on the laptop today?
You go for this one because you're better at reading than I am. You'll go to that presenter role.
Holly. Okay, so we had a really exciting confession, which we love it. We still like get so excited. I'm like, oh my god, people actually said it. Okay, so let me get my read. Are you sure I should do this with a cold? Okay, fine. Okay, so this one says, so basically, I'd been in the job for about a month, and as I was reversing out of the car park, I bumped the corner of a colleague's car.
This was not me, by the way, for everyone thinking.
I read this out earlier and I was like, Elise, this is perfect because people love the van story.
And everyone will be like, that's definitely Elise. It wasn't. Someone else like me.
We promise.
Yeah.
And I bumped the corner of a colleague's car. It was dark. I got out and there was no scratch, so I just left and carried on. And at the time, I didn't know whose car it was. So I went in the next morning and asked whose car it was, but the person wasn't in. So again, I left it. Not because I was trying to be sly, but because I thought there was no scratch. Then someone grassed me up to the director. My manager didn't speak to me all day. I had to text the woman and apologise, and I started crying at work as if I was a 12-year-old. But bear in mind, I'd only been there a month.
Oh, that's nice.
I sorted it out with my colleague, then a couple of months later, someone else accused me of doing it because I was an easy target. Anyway, now no one parks either side of me at work, and I'm known as the girl who can't drive.
Well, that makes two of us girls, so
You're not alone.
I think that's awful. Like,
Yeah, that is.
I thought that you did it.
No, these things happen. And at the end of the day, she said she went to own up, she apologised. And as well, she sorted it out with the colleague.
Yeah.
So the other people at work are just being petty.
Especially if it's a manager.
I'm going to say this workplace hasn't got a lot going on
Negative
drama-wise.
vibes.
They need a bit more drama.
Yeah, negative vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was my life, something like this happens every day. So.
Yeah.
I can remember one time, someone reversed into me, like fully, my full bumper was hanging off, right? And that many times it happened to me, I was just like, don't worry about it, it's like proper past himself, this little old man. I was like,
these things happen
no
all the
drama,
time.
yeah, these things happen.
Yeah.
It's like, there's worse things that can happen than a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I just think exactly like prime example. It was all sorted with the colleague, it was fine. And people at work now are just carrying it on.
Yeah.
People just do anything for a little bit of drama.
Yeah,
They love
they
it.
do. And if no one wants to park near you, good.
Yeah, exactly.
At least you get a big car.
Easy to get in and out of. Don't have to worry about bay parking, reversing.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
So don't feel bad about that.
And I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
People will like bump and scratch. And, you know, like when you're parking a multi-storey car and you open your door and the space is like this big. They'll do that all the time.
Yeah.
People just don't own up to it.
Yeah. Sophie, have you got a confession you want to tell?
Absolutely not. I do park in a multi-storey every single day. No, I'm joking. I am that person. I purposely park away from everyone else because I just think, please no one like hit my car or... It would be me. I normally get in and out that flustered and that much in a rush. I'm grabbing all these bloody bags. People must think when I'm walking over this bridge, like, what the hell is that girl doing?
When I walk over the bridge, like, oh my god, Elise,
Yeah.
is that you from the coffee shop podcast?
We have, yeah!
With my bags.
Yes, it's me! It's me!
I'm here!
I'm in a rush.
No, we won't be able to get away with anything.
No.
Will we?
We'll be
We've
getting
got someone.
dropped off on that curb, picked up on that curb.
Yeah, parking spaces.
Yeah,
We will be-
reserved.
Yeah, reserved.
The coffee shop. Maybe I'm going to get a little sign that says, the home of the coffee shop
Yeah, I
podcast.
love that. I love it, you have to.
The day that someone comes in and goes, it's this way.
Yeah.
Imagine people getting photos in this window of their coffee.
That should be it, shouldn't there? If you want to come and get your photo, please do.
There's the charge. Business women at heart. No, but that was a good business confession to finish off, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was really good.
And obviously, as always, if you have any funny business confessions, if they're juicy,
anything you want us to discuss, any topics you'd like us to discuss.
We love it. Like we said, it still like takes us by surprise when people actually do message us. I think it's one of the things that we're like, as if people actually listen.
We know we joke and we're a bit delusional, but it's just mad, isn't it?
It is mad.
Little old us sat here and we're just like, oh.
I know. Do you feel like you're getting more confident?
I feel like I am getting more confident, but at the same time, when I'm on the way here, I'm like, oh, I get that nervous
Same,
feeling.
all day at work, I'm like, what am I going to talk about?
And then once we've put it out there, I'm like, what do people think?
Oh, I hate it. No, do you know what, for me, genuinely, tonight is the worst night. So when we get home and we've finished and like I'm laying in bed, I'll overthink everything that I said. And then I've forgotten, obviously, like, because we talk with that much, I forget. So then I'm laying there thinking, what did I say? Did I say anything bad? And I just overthink until I fall asleep.
I think that's a thing that people do with anything, though, with work in general.
Yeah.
You must do, and we're thinking, we're going to get cancelled. And we said something, and they're like, you can't say that. I'm like, oh, God, I didn't know.
Literally.
But we can't be too careful.
No, we keep saying as well, we feel like the more we get into our groove, we get more confident. Like,
we do.
I feel like we've always
We
been
start
super
off
awkward
like,
at the beginning. We're like,
hi!
and we argue beforehand who's going to start it. Elise
I'm
starts
like,
every time.
You make me. We argue about starting.
We do.
Like, I want to go there.
We do argue all the time about that.
Yeah.
But, and then give it 10 minutes and we're a lot more relaxed.
And we hope you're enjoying it still.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said at the beginning, every single like watcher on YouTube, subscriber, streamer, like it just makes a big difference, and it's all just helping us keep doing it really.
And we're finally on the way to getting a few sponsors, so that's really exciting.
And dare we say, official guest. And it is sorry to say this, but it is huge. Like, I can't believe it. Spoiler!
I'm so excited.
I really hope that it is.
We're going to have to get our confidence way more.
I know, we can't be like
those journalism skills coming back in.
Exactly. Do you know what? We're manifesting the Hollywood vibes. Come on.
It's going to be fab. So there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, so just stay with us, stick with us.
We wanted to know as well, didn't we? If you have any guests that you want us to try and get on, be realistic.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have.
I didn't read that. I didn't read it. The King Tut.
I know we mean properly. No, we would love to have obviously like humongous stars, but realistically we're starting off small.
Yeah.
No, it's not small.
It's not small at all.
We're saying too much already.
We're just
Okay, we're waffling.
We're waffling, yeah. But are we ready to close on that?
Absolutely.
Close on the cliffhanger.
Let's do it. Another week. Done and dusted.
See you to the next one.